Okay, it is me, NBT SKY, and we are doing a numerology report on Brian Thompson and United Healthcare. How you know it's me, you see my face, how you doing, all that other good stuff, right? So I've been gone for a minute, but I'm back on the jump off. The goons in the club case something jump off. Anyway, so we got Brian Thompson here, and he's the one that was recently assassinated by, someone that was just recently captured. And he's the CEO of the United Healthcare health system. So let's get into it. So I break down Bryant, the first name. He breaks down a 26 and 8, which puts, a little Mars energy in his medium frequency outside of the total. And then you break down Thompson, which comes down to 39, 12, and 3. So in that low frequency, you get Jupiter. Now, when we go high, medium, and low, you have this 11 and 2, which if you watch any of my previous ones, I like to associate with the major arcana, the high priestess. And we have this medium frequency of the moon, and that would be in Cancer energy. So let's get into it. Let's look at Mars. Mars, if we are dealing with tarot, the major would be the Tower. The sign would be some, in Aries, if you're looking at the chart. So what is that talking about? So it's possible that throughout his life, he may have experienced sudden and random changes until he was able to kind of find himself in good situations or positions in social circles. So this is natural to Brian, and so in this numerology is a discussion of him trying to stay out of this Jupiter, Wheel of Fortune kind of energy and a low vibration. So let's look at the moon in total. This is, the major is the high priestess. This is not associated with a zodiac sign. It's just simply associated with the moon. Even though sometimes I still like to associate it with the energy of Cancer, but technically it's just associated with the moon. So it lets us know that he's highly prone to follow his intuition in most cases, and that he's destined to know about and have access to information that most would not when we're dealing with the high priestess, because that's what she does. Now, when we get into the medium frequency, which is just the moon, with the major being a Chariot, you talk about the natural fight in his life. That would be the need to maintain control and balance, because in looking at the Chariot in his medium frequency, he most likely took his time in making choices, maintaining balance, and these ways allows access to positive aspects of the Wheel of Fortune and karmic cycles that come with the wheel, which comes down in this lower frequency. So he would have to have maintained throughout his life this connection with his 11 and 2 and in the 2 to stay out the lower frequency of the Wheel of Fortune, which speaks of the karmic cycle, right? So now when we're talking about the Wheel of Fortune and major, the planet is Jupiter. Now, when you look at this, the Wheel of Fortune is not exactly related to a zodiac sign, but if you're going to look at the Wheel of Fortune and you're going to look at the planet Jupiter, and you're going to see it in Sagittarius, right? So anyway, the wheel in a lower frequency would be similar to it being in reverse if you like tarot. So this means that it puts him in a position where he needs to be mindful of his choices, connections, and circles, with the warning that all that is good could flip into a negative direction, and in any time, this is in both directions for him. So he could flip from good to bad with energy or surrounding circles or anything like that, or bad to good. It just depends on the situation and the type of people he's dealing with, or type of entities that he's dealing with. And when I'm talking about entities, I'm talking about institutions and jobs and positions and corporate and so on and so forth, right? So now when we get into the date of birth, we in this energy of Cancer, which puts you still in a planet of the moon, right? Now, we already spoke about Mars and we already spoke about Jupiter. we already spoke about the 20 and 2, which comes up in his high frequency. So as you know, this is gonna, and I didn't put it on the board, but it is that. As a matter of fact, I'll put it on the board right now so y'all can see that the high, the medium, and the low is, the high is 20 and 2, and the 8 is in the medium frequency, and the 3 is right here. Now the 8 still remains in the medium frequency in his name. The 20 and 2 is in the high frequency, but it's in the medium frequency in his name. But if you see, the theme is pretty common for the most part. He got the 8, the 3, the 20, and the 2. It's still very common regardless of the fact. Now, when we put the date all together, we have 1991. So this would be, he's born in 1974. This would be his future, but we're looking at it as our past. It still breaks down to 22. So you see the 20 and 2 is a theme. This chariot, Cancer energy is still a theme in his reality, period. Now, when we look at the high frequency of the moon, this, you know, it remains, Mars remains, Jupiter remains. So therefore, we're going to just focus on this Uranus and Neptune and the sun energy, which is in a month and in the day that he's born. Right? So when we're looking at Uranus, you're looking at the sign of Aquarius. If you're looking at the chart, the major, if you're looking at tarot, is the Fool. If you're looking, when we're looking at Neptune, because they usually come together when you're dealing with numerology, right? You're looking at Pisces, and the major is the Hangman. So let's look at Aquarius first. Aquarius is, you know, excitement about new friends, social groups, projects, open communication, open communicator, and naturally intellectual. These aspects and journeys still come with warning because he still has the Fool card attached to it, which, you know, is associated with this Uranus energy. Now, when you get into Pisces, it confirms that he would have naturally gravitated towards working in the field, involving hospitals, institutions, moving up into positions that will put him at an advantage. Seeing things from a different perspective, others may not have liked, agreed to, or etc. Probably, you know, a common theme in his reality when it came to dealing with business. The time we're going to get to, and that's last. So anyway, let's look at the day. The day comes down in the sun energy. I'm not looking at the sun associated with the sign, but if you're looking for the sun on the chart, then it's under Leo. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the major is the same in tarot. It's the sun. So generally, the sun is a card of happiness and bliss. Like all light sources, even this can be blinding. So, if we're dealing with, you know, the number alone, which is, you know, we're dealing with the number alone, this would and is a topic of new cycles and endings of cycles. In some cases, the sun card could also speak of death, which is what took place on that particular day. A transition, an ending of a cycle, and a beginning of a new cycle with that person not in existence. So that's just that for the numerology report. For the sun, not for the entire numerology report, right? So let's look at the company, the United Healthcare. So when you look at United Healthcare, outside of everything else, the sun is typically the energy. Outside of that, if you're looking, you know, looking at the magician energy and stuff like that, and you're looking at Pluto in this situation. But we're just going to keep it where we're going to keep it at. We're going to look more so at Pluto and the sun for them. So when we're dealing with the sun, when we're looking at United Healthcare, is the discussion is what did United Healthcare promote versus what truly takes place. That's the question under the energy of the sun. Because like I told you previously, the sun can bring clarity, but it also can blind individuals. It can create this energy of forced promotion of bliss, happiness, or we create imbalance, or we're promoting and pushing the concept of, you know, providing great services and this, that, and the third, but behind closed doors, it could possibly be something else. So it can still be a blinding source. So that's why I say we're going to look into Pluto and focus on that. So under Pluto, the major is judgment, right? On the chart, Pluto rules in Scorpio. So this speaks about insurance, death, regeneration policies, procedures, rules, regulations, laws, responsibilities, or lack thereof. Right? Certain choices being made that affect the majority may be seen as judgment being made, but not being announced to the public. So this is kind of the energy that's being carried with this United Health, and you're gonna see the energy kind of re-manifest itself when we look at the numbers breakdown for the CEO, right? So this lets you know that things that he knew and understood due to his position as a CEO may, put him in the know. So now when we get into the CEO, this breaks down into this energy of Mercury. Now when we're dealing with Mercury, we're dealing with the major, and the major arcana in tarot, if those who like tarot, is the Magician. Now when you in a position as CEO, you have control over all aspects, or access to control all aspects, right? So this speaks of change, and also speaks of having access to knowledge, information that can bring upon change via all elements. So communication, contracts, side agreements, measures of manipulation, money, etc. Right? The same way the position brings upon power also can bring manipulation, how the Magician is used also affects the karmic cycle. So remember that he has the Wheel of Fortune right here that comes up in his low frequency, and the Wheel of Fortune that comes up here. So quite naturally, he still has to be, or had to be, very careful about how he made his choices so that he could keep his Wheel of Fortune or his karmic cycle in a positive position. Now, let's look at the date of death. The date of death, when I do this and add it all up, we're looking at 2040. So automatically, I'm thinking some of the choices and decisions and things that may have been happening concerning this particular CEO could have, or could possibly affect the way people are affected by the United Healthcare Services all the way up until 2040. But we're going to look at it. I broke this down a little bit deeper because this is the day. So now, let's get back. The position speaks of the Magician, the mastery, access, and ability to manipulate all elements. Breaking down the date itself displays all four elements. When you're looking at the Magician has power over all four elements. So let's look at the high frequency, which comes up in Venus, but also comes up, you see Venus right here in Earth. We're looking at it as the Empress. If you're looking at, if you like tarot, then we're looking at the major of the Empress. So the high frequency, looking at Venus for 2040, it's very possible that groups of people, families, etc. could have been affected by choices, concepts, desires to reach certain financial levels, or even the overall group of the company, etc. Right? Outside of the physical existence of people that involve themselves or use United Healthcare and so on and so forth. Maybe things that he wasn't even thinking about at the time. So let's look at the month. So the month lands in Jupiter. So the major that I'm using is the Temperance, because I'm looking, pretty much, Sag energy. So we're looking at the Temperance, right? That's the major. So the energy surrounding this month and situation, finding and or maintaining balance or creating balance. Balance out of philosophy, vision for the future, etc. So the glitch here is the concept of philosophy, and whether what they were doing or deciding or how they were working, was it going to bring balance overall? And the person that attacked him probably was opposing his views, concepts, and visions, or even position altogether. But it also lets you know that the person already knew about the upcoming meeting. This person may have been stalking and watching him for a while. This is a group or person with power that may have literally just say, you know what, I oppose everything about you, your intentions, or the position in general that you're in. So now let's look at the day. So the day lands in the energy of Saturn. We're looking at the number. So the energy is in Saturn. That's the earth energy. We talked about the major, the world. On the chart, it kind of lands in Capricorn, but if you actually looking at tarot, it speaks of Aquarius, Scorpio, Leo, and Taurus energy, all of the elements. Excuse me. Just like the Magician. Right? So this speaks about the ability or the desire to stabilize or control by any means necessary public reputation, profession, employees, authorities, those who have more power than Brian Thompson. So we know that we have all of these elements that's constantly in cycle. These are, when we talk about the world, we talk about the physical aspect of life. When you talk about the will, you talk about more karmic. So you have these matching physical energies that could manipulate the karmic energies and bring you into the high or into the low. So when we get into this medium frequency, right? You see Uranus and Neptune, the air, water energy, right? So we got air and water, and at the medium frequency, looking at air moving at a medium speed would, change the way water moves generally, if we're looking at the actual element. This is how I look at it through numbers. All right, so this is letting us know that this meeting and possible prior meetings, projects and agreements, etc., may have caused some major feelings, bringing us into the lower aspects of the Mars energy, looking at, who and when, looking at the numbers and different frequencies. It probably would require a deeper look into the social circles. Why? Because his position may have peeved people above him that he may not even know about or even thought about, people in his circle. Now, side note, throughout this whole reading, I was thinking to myself, like, where's the Emperor? Why didn't the Emperor come up for those who like tarot, right? Because the Emperor also is in Aries energy. And in the low frequency, you have to look at the Emperor like in reverse. So this is chaos, domination, and control. And technically, for somebody to lose their life is chaos. For somebody to kill an individual is domination. And to end them is the control of a particular situation. It is just that simple, right? So Mars comes up again in a lower, this comes up in a lower frequency. And the major is a tower. Now, on a chart, Mars is in the zodiac of Aries. So clearly the Emperor has that ability to create that tower energy. But the overall energy, like it said prior, was to destroy or remove him from a position. But most importantly, to ensure that certain information does not get out. Outside of that, to destroy his ability to make certain changes, whether it be good or bad. This would change the overall outcome of the future of the company, because his concepts and ideas, those that are there, they may stay in place or may, be removed because he was removed. So the tower represents the change that cannot be controlled, which forces rebuilding and or restructuring, period. So let's jump back over here to the interesting part, which is the time that the news said the incident happened, which is 6:45 a.m. Now, I couldn't put this chart up the way I wanted to, but I'm going to show you real quick on the chart how this looks. So 6:45 estimated sits you in the east, or puts you in the energy of Pisces, and directly across that throw you into the energy of a Libra energy, which throw you in the west. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is that they said that how he traveled, I had to look, but how he traveled from that incident to get away from the incident was towards the west. And then they located him from, even if he was coming from New Jersey or New York and going into Pennsylvania, he still was traveling west. So, therefore, we got this west energy that comes up. So, I looked at the time in two different ways. So, first off, we're going to look at it just with the numbers. I'm looking at the majors only. So, for 15, the major arcana is the devil, which is reduced down to 6, right? And when we look at the major for the 6, this is the lovers. Now, overall, this is almost this is almost like a light and dark of the partnerships or of partnerships. Now, he may have had, let's say he was controlled by a third party. Let's put it that way. Whether he agreed or understood it or not, that he's the CEO, but there is physical control and non-physical control over the situation. So he was going to a meeting. This would, in that meeting, whether it was prior or during the meeting, it required him to decide who or what purpose he was really going to work for, regardless of the fact. When you're looking at the Lovers and the Devil, you're going to always see two, a masculine and a feminine energy, and there's always going to be another energy, whether it's known or unknown, over it. The Devil is more of a physical card, because it kind of lands in the earth, where, the Lovers is an air card. It's thought, something you can't see, smell, taste, or touch. Right? Now, when I looked at it on the chart, like I told y'all, 6:45 a.m. would put him in Pisces energy, and the direction would be the east. And the planet would be Neptune, the major, the card, the moon card is there. Now, in numerology, Neptune speaks of truths, mysteries, and seeking truth. And that, Neptune gets to confirm the industry he works in also. There will be a lot of confusion surrounding the entire story. Looking at the moon card outside of the lack of clarity, it's a theme within here with this moon energy, where there's going to be confusion regardless. All kinds of hearsay, so on and so forth, is going to take place. Now, the other theme in here is that there's always this higher, powerful third-party energy involved that's unknown, period. Are they ever going to get to the bottom of that? I'm not very sure. But what I'll tell you is that beyond the person that actually committed the actual crime, there's a whole nother conglomerate or group of individuals above that. So, when I count up the planets, I'm looking at Pluto, because Pluto kind of stands out by itself on the whole entire board. And Pluto comes up one time. So when you talk about it, brings the card of death and tarot, transformation, endings, and beginnings. Or the One of Cups, which is, an emotional situation, right? Based off of an action. Because Pluto can be water or fire, depending on what system you talk about. And we're dealing with judgment. And judgment is what the hell was taking place. Regardless, you have Saturn is Two of Coins, having to make a decision. And so that, looking at the major, we talked about the worlds. When I'm talking about these minors, I'm talking about the elements itself. I'm not talking about exactly which majors they are associated with, for those who really like to get into it. I'm not talking about that. So when you're talking about the Two of Coins, you're talking about balancing out. Right? So this may be a group of individuals that was trying to juggle and try to balance a situation out, whether it be about money, or his physical presence. Then you have Mercury that comes up 3 times, this 3 of Swords, this Magician. So there was some type of fail, that may have taken place with his abilities. Or people may have been heartbroken or felt some type of way about how he was juggling his position as a CEO. Now, the moon comes up 4 times. I'm looking at the 4 of Cups, the High Priestess. He got hit, knocked off, secret celebration. Somebody is happy about it. It's probably not the person that got caught, but those above him. And then you look on social media and people are literally, and the 4 of Cups is not even that. The 3 of Cups is more that, but I still see the celebration in it. The 4 of Cups is talking about, a little bit of boredom and no interest in it. Low key. So there's people that's probably in the know that's not going to put forth or show any interest in a situation. Now you see the Sun card, or the Sun, comes up about 5 times. Generally, I'm looking at the 5 of Wands. This is petty competition. It could be, for position. Not one individual in a position fighting for things not to get out about, things that go on or information that's given in a position. Then you have Uranus and Neptune that comes up. That's that Five of Swords, Five of Cups. So clearly he dealt with the Five of Swords, and clearly it amounted to the Five of Cups. This was the fool not being conscious, not being aware, moving by itself, not paying attention to its surroundings, and so on and so forth. And then you got that Hangman. Even though Hangman means many things, it also can be a represent of a sacrifice. You know, hung out there. Now, Jupiter comes up 6 times. I'm looking at, 6 of Wands, this Wheel of Fortune. Now, when you're thinking about this 6 of Wands, you think about, victory and having all this money. And he was in a position where he had money. And, he was victorious in his position at that time or until his ending. And so other people might feel some type of way about that. And his decisions may have been based off maintaining that. Now, when we get into the Mars energy, this war energy, this defending yourself, standing guard energy, the 7 of Wands, that's what didn't happen that day. And people that may have been in the know did not stand up for it or stand up for him or in his defense. There was no defense line there. I don't know. I was talking to my mother about the situation. She said people in these positions always have like security. He didn't have no security that day. And that brings this tower down, this inevitable, you didn't have your guard up, this inevitable shutdown. Then you have Venus, the 7, comes up 7. You got the 7 of Coins. This is patience. Patience and really having to wait it out. And then you have the 7 of Swords, this kind of backstabbing, sneaky, conniving energy that brings you in this Empress and Justice, kind of energy. So it all still adds up. It's not cool. It's not a funny situation at all. From what the news say, they caught him. The end of the day, this was more so about money, position, and restabilizing or creating a major change so that something else can be put into place. I mean, I could get into a little bit more of it, but maybe I'll do a bone throw or something later on. But this is just numbers, a little bit of astrology, and dealing with the majors and giving you a little kind of touch on how the minors show the story. Anyway, it is me, TT Sky, NBT Sky, deuces, smooches. I'm off this joint. Later.